So today I want a couple of people to come and share with you a testimony of that group, of what it is and how it works and what it's done. And so forth. So I'm going to ask Miss Pat, you come and you share.
Prior to the beginning of last year, back, not this past set of life groups in the fall, but the one before that, we had started, and the Lord started laying on my heart about the First Place program. I had gone through it before, which Pastor Rick describes it very well. It's a lot like Weight Watchers with Jesus. Rather than just the physical aspect of it, it emphasizes spiritual, mental, emotional, just a balanced life. And for me, it worked really well when I had done it before at another church. But it's one of those things that has to be a lifestyle. So, I found myself back feeling not well. And several years ago, some of you know me or knew me back then, but several years ago, many years ago, I found myself waking up in the ICU, and I was not in good health. And it was kind of scary at the time. We didn't know what was going on, and I ended up being put on medication, and I'd been on medication for years, not only for that, but for my asthma and a lot of other things that I had. And I never did even like to take Tylenol or aspirin. So I was kind of frustrated with all that in my health. And so personally, God was speaking to me I was asking him I just need to get back on track. The Ukraine trip was coming up during the summer, and I was concerned about getting way over there and something happening with my health. And I just began this journey of God speaking to me, kind of like Rick was saying, about the ways I personally needed to get well. And then when life groups came up, I mentioned to Joy and to Pastor Rick about incorporating First Place for Health as one of the life groups, and that I felt like the Lord wanted me to be a part of that, to lead that, and I wasn't sure when the timing would be right. Well, like he said, he was like, well, he didn't say it out loud to me, but Joy said, I think now's a good time, anytime's a good time. Well, we didn't do it that particular session, but this next session, it came to fruition back in September. So for me, it just was a continuation of what I had begun back in April in order to get healthy and get to feeling better going off on my own trip. And of course, when God speaks to you, I've learned you may be hesitant to start with because you're thinking about doing it in your own strength and how you're going to manage it. But if he calls you to something, he's going to be faithful to see you through and bring people alongside you. So that's what he did. And because I already had a lot of things on my plate and I wasn't sure how I was going to do it. But in any case, obviously there were other people that God was speaking to who were ready to take this journey. And I'm so excited that I said yes. We started out with 13 that came, and we ended with 10 that finished the 12-week program, which is awesome. It was so encouraging that people just kept showing up and kept following through. And those 3 that weren't able to do it, there were some very legitimate reasons that they didn't necessarily just couldn't keep that commitment. But in any case, 10 followed through with the program. We met every week. We incorporated another program for physical fitness called Run for God, and Dustin and Caitlin helped lead that, and that was just a really great pairing to get the physical part of it, the activity part of it, along with the food and changing your lifestyle and eating part of it going. But the best part of it to me was the fellowship and the spiritual aspect and encouragement and accountability of it. We did have a Bible study we did called Seeking God First, and we had memory verses and discussion every week, and it was just a great time. And anybody that's not familiar with it, we can go into a lot more details about that, but the main thing I want to share is just Rick didn't know I was going to do this, but I do want to recognize anybody that's here that went through the program and say a little bit about it. I want to say as a group, Our initial goal, weight loss goal, was 205 pounds. We achieved 57% of that in our 12 weeks, 118-pound weight loss as a group, and 58.5 inches. So it was very successful. And I want to recognize the people that were the biggest losers, or the top losers in some of the areas. And the last weekly session, was basically a review and a celebration of the time we'd had together. And we were asked to write some things down and share some things to create our testimony. And for me, part of the physical part of it is I actually have reduced down my own prescription. I take one prescription medication other than my asthma medication now. And I was taking 7 to 10 more pills.
Wow.
And I no longer take those. And I'm helping to control that with the change in the diet and the lifestyle that we learned to live through this program. And so that for me is wonderful. My kids, I didn't realize the weight that they bear, when they're concerned about us being unhealthy, or, where we are in our own lifestyle. And so I can see how relieved they are that I'm healthier and that I'm, doing some things that don't require. I understand we do have to take medications for some things, Dr. Dan, and I appreciate it. And Dr. Brantley is my doctor, but they both, I know, have the mindset that if you don't need to have that and you can do it a healthy way with God's help, then that's the best way to do it. And so I'm excited to share that, and I'm thinking, okay, devil, you're not going to make me fall apart after I give this testimony in my health. But I have felt much better, and my children, what I was saying is, they're thankful that God has enabled me to do that, and that is the main point for me, is that God gets the glory, because in my own strength, I love to eat. I love to eat good food. I love to cook. Everybody knows that. So it's very difficult for me to change some things. Old habits die hard. And I know that we're created to eat to live, not to live to eat. But at the same time, just like we've shared scripture, our Jesus fellowshipped around the table many, many times. And I think that's a wonderful thing to do. For me, that's how I love on people. It's just about creating balance. And that's what this whole program is about, creating balance. But my testimony was this when I wrote it down, and I want to read it because it's where I was when I wrote it. I'm not just trying to look back and recall it. It wanted us to reflect on who encouraged us and inspired us and what we gained from the program. And I said, for me, Pastor Rick and Angela, the determination to stick with it when it's really hard inspired me. The ability to get back on track when the temptation to get off is there. April to push through even when her diabetes complicates things so much for her. Mr. Emmett and Kim and Angela and the girls coming as a family, even Olivia and Ashley. Amber being faithful through big life changes. Susan coming in, which is a lady named Susan Daughtry that doesn't go to our church, but she saw it on our website and she joined us, and she was just a wonderful, sweet blessing. But coming in when she didn't even know anybody, wasn't connected to us at the Vine. Dustin and Caitlin coming in and bringing the children every time on a school night, getting their homework done while we were there, was not easy, but they did it. And my husband for committing to do whatever crazy thing I come up with and supporting me and giving up our night, because Tuesdays was our night to go on dates and things. As always, the Lord is faithful to what He calls us to do. This has been a confirmation of what He put on my heart months ago. The follow-through by those who signed up has been such an inspiration to me in my own personal success. Getting back to first place has helped be such a reminder to me that in all things, if we seek God first, joy, peace, and contentment, all the things that He says are the definition of success fall into place. There's always ministry. There are always ministry opportunities, but those that we serve in because God has given us and placed a passion and purpose in our heart to do, and the gifts and talents are always where we feel at home. And eternal results are there, and they're the reward. Seeds are planted, some are nurtured, some are grown, some we get to see, some we don't. I'm grateful for the growth and the results on the scales and improved physical and mental and spiritual health. I know it's an ongoing process and truly desire that more than anything it presents opportunities to glorify the Lord. The accountability and connection in all areas I didn't know his sermon was going to be all this. In all areas has been a much needed life-changing experience for me. I certainly could not do this and maintain without him or the ones that have come alongside me to do it. We do spur each other on in amazing ways, and I'm excited to see where the journey continues to go. And we do plan to start another session at the end of February or beginning of March. I'm hoping that we can actually get 2 sessions going on at the time, and those that maybe couldn't join us the first time can do it the next time. And I have already had some people say that they want to. And then I encouraged everybody in the meantime when we had a break to do this 90-day fitness challenge just to keep on track, and we're going to weigh in every 2 weeks to kind of keep each other accountable, because I do believe it's almost like Celebrate Recovery or some other things. When you have issues in this area, to stay healthy, it's just great to stay in community and somewhere or another to have that accountability. And it's so neat because this book actually, it goes through a whole acronym of DREAM, which is very similar to Imagine, and it talks about how God has placed a dream in every one of us and given us the gift and desires us to be healthy in order to fulfill the purpose He's placed in our heart, and our dreams line up with the purpose He has created us to glorify Him in. And one of the things that stuck out to me is it says, we all have work to do. Your life will not change until you make the decision to change it. The problem is not whether you have the power to change it with Jesus, of course, but whether you make the decision to change it. And I believe that's true. And I'm sure, like many of you, I made decisions. I've made them off and on and done it many times over. And I just know that the way it sticks is if I stick with my focus on the Lord and not just get that tunnel vision just in the area of physical or just in the area of this or that, but to have that balance. And it starts with seeking God first. So anyway, I kind of have these little certificates for people that are here. And this one is for Miss Carla Cook, and she has the Staying in the Game certificate because she had a lot of things going on, had some family stuff and whatever, and she would kind of be in and out some, but she's sticking with it. And even this week, she had to text me her final results, but that's okay, because we learned that when you do life, it's just not always easy to stay exactly on track, and you just have to go with the flow, and you just get back on the horse, so to speak. So Miss Carla Cook gets Staying in the Game award. And the next one is Amber Collier, and she gets the Most Determined award because she did have a lot of big things going on. A lot of things we were able to pray about because we were in community, and a lot of things we wouldn't have known if we weren't. And we're excited for some new changes, but she had a lot going on, children to manage, a husband that was in and out, and just to manage it. Lots of stuff, and she came, and she was very much an inspiration. She kept going. And April is not here, but she has the Never Giving Up award because I just get emotional about April because she's just a sweet, sweet girl, and it's hard to be a single mom. She has a lot of things that go along with that, but she also has type 1 diabetes, and it's very difficult to manage. And there were times when she would try to exercise with us, and she'd have to come in because she'd have to get something to eat or drink. And there were times when she would just say, I don't feel like coming, but we'd spur each other on, and she'd show up, and I'd be so excited when she showed up. And she just kept going. She just didn't give up. And so that's what she gets, the Never Giving Up Award. So anyway, and Dustin, I don't know if they're here. Yeah, he's here. Dustin, he has the most consistent award because he'd go up a pound and he'd go down 2 pounds. That wasn't consistent, but he just kept going. He consistently kept going to the point where he ended up at a great place, and he was consistently there. He would be the first to offer to make a meal, because one of the things we did is we would try to fellowship together with a light meal because we knew it was during that time. He consistently drove up with with the kids and Caitlin in tow, and he was very much encouraging to me as being his mother-in-law. I say mother-in-law, but to participate in conversation in our Bible studies, and just to be a faithful encourager and supporter. So he gets the most consistent. And Caitlin, you can come up with them too if you'd like to. She gets an award for meeting her goal. Not everybody met their goal, but she met her goal, which wasn't, weight-wise, wasn't a lot. And I wish April was here. She wouldn't say this because she wouldn't talk. But truly, not everybody's primary focus was their weight. There was so much more to the group that you could get out of it, and so in that area she wanted to maintain, but just get more healthy in some of the other ways, confidence and mentally and spiritually growing and all of that. And so she met her goals in the areas that she was shooting for. So Miss Susan Daughtry is not here. She's the lady that I was talking about that her husband, well, Lauren, my brother, knows them. We've known them for quite some time. It's just a really sweet lady. They go to another church, and she joined us, and she actually was one of the top losers in percentage, pounds and inches, and she was another one that met her goal. She did a really good job. Miss Kim Grant, she was one of our top losers in inches. Very faithful to come. And Mr. Emmett is not here, is he? Mr. Emmett, their dad, came, and he was a top loser in pounds. He'll be glad to know.
Yeah.
Which he was. I'll give it to you. He was an inspiration to all of us, because those of us that are on the older end, or more mature end of the scale, it's just sometimes you have lots of aches and pains and different things that are challenges. For me, not just the health and the things that I was doing, like with my medications, but I have arthritis. I have a lot of things, and sometimes you just have to tell yourself, I'm just going to do this. This is just a choice that I'm going to make. And he did. And there were times he would have to stop because he would have trouble with his hips or knees or whatever, but he would show up, and sometimes with the strong encouragement from his daughter, he would show up and not be a wimp or whatever she was saying to him. Oh, it was so funny, but he was just really sweet, and he's just a person that we got to know in a way that we wouldn't have been able to without this first place group. The next person I want to call is a person who's also going to share a little bit with us, and it's Miss Angela Slappig. She actually was the biggest loser in our pounds and also in inches, and she met her goal, which was a big goal. So I'm very proud of her.
Good morning. I had to write it out because I knew I'd get up here and babble, because I'm not very good at public speaking. So when we were starting life groups a few months ago, I was trying to decide which one to sign up for. I remember as I looked over the clipboards, I came to one that said First Place for Health. When I saw this, I knew that this is where the Lord wanted me to go. You see, for several months prior to that, I've been struggling with knowing that I had to start doing something to get better health. I was really praying about trying to have weight loss surgery, but the door kept closing. So when I saw the clipboard, I knew that I needed to try this. Being overweight most of my life, I've probably tried almost every diet known to man. I remember my parents getting in arguments over dieting. I have been successful at many of those diets, but the weight always came back. When I went to our first meeting in the first place for health, I was very nervous about starting something new. We met once a week to weigh in and do our Bible study together, and we decided that we would do an exercise program called Run for God before our weigh-in and Bible study. The goal would be that I ought to do a 5K at the end of 12 weeks. When this was said, I remember saying to my sister, "They have got to be crazy. I know I cannot do that." I have done one other 5K walking, and it was after I had been exercising for about 6 months during a boot camp. Well, I remember that after the first meeting, I went home and I prayed that night to God that if this is what you want me and my family to do, to please give us the strength and courage to face it. And He did. I started doing Bible study and digging deeper into His Word. The study would take us to verses that I honestly do not remember reading before. I started logging everything I put in my mouth, and this was truly an eye-opener when you see how many calories are in what we eat, and trying to make healthier choices to stay under your calorie limit for the day. We started walking 3 times a week, twice with a group, and tried to do once on our own. Not every week was a success, and I don't think that any of us lost every week, but we pushed on. I know for me that the Lord and this group was the only way that I stayed on track some of the weeks. Knowing that someone is holding you accountable, not to scold you if you didn't lose, but to encourage us to keep moving forward and start new each week. My favorite verse from this 12 weeks was Proverbs 16:3. Commit to the Lord whatever you do, and your plans will succeed. I truly learned that if I would turn everything over to Him, He would help me not only lose in weight loss, but anything we face in our lives. I saw this verse come to life this past few months. I did walk the 5K and finished. During the race, we had to cross the finish line and continue another lap. I remember telling my sister and Ashley, I don't know if I can do any more. I started to have an asthma and panic attack. I stopped on the course, and for a second, I just had to catch my breath. Sorry, I was tearing up. My sister said, we can stop if you want to. I prayed to the Lord, please, God, help me be able to finish this, not for just me, for your glory. Right after I said this, a calmness came over me, and we continued on. We threw cold water in each other's faces to make us laugh and cool us off. We were on the last section, and I was struggling. I did not think that we were ever going to see the finish line. I was hurting and in pain. I remember turning a corner, and I saw our other team members coming to meet us to finish with us. This gave me so much encouragement, and it gave me the boost I needed to finish strong. I encourage anyone who's looking to lose weight or just to get healthy to join us as we do our next section. I promise you that you'll not have success every week, but if you keep the Lord first and keep pushing through, then you will achieve your goals. I did meet my goal for the 12 weeks and lost 28 pounds, but I believe my greatest achievement when growing closer to the Lord is learning to lean on Him always.
Amen. Awesome.
See, that's my blessing. That's why I do it. The Lord has blessed me so much, and no matter what I've put into it, I just can't. Nothing compares to something like that, to people's lives being changed. And I remember we did a post-whatever session survey, and I've read those. I appreciate everybody responding. I felt so inadequate to do what I felt like was required to be a good leader. But I didn't even read this part to the end in the leadership guide, but it said the most important thing was for you to love your people. I got that right, because I do love them, and I love, it's because of Jesus in me, and so then I felt a little bit better about the job I had done throughout this time. But there's always room for many, many improvements. We had a great time. We had a great success. I have 2 more. This is for Kyle, because he didn't have as much success on the scale, but he is my support. He's my strength, and he did sacrifice a lot to be able to come and do this with me. Like I said, he's so good about whatever I come up with, and he'll joke and tell people, what do you got me into now? But he's always there, and that's a gift for me. So he gets the support for the most sacrifice. Okay. This is the last one, but it's the best one. As good leaders should be, our pastor is one. He is the biggest loser for the time. He's
That's
the biggest
not the
loser.
first time I've heard that in my life.
He's the biggest
But I don't know.
loser. He's the biggest loser in percentage, and one of the top losers in pounds. But he was and is a great leader in this session. During this session, he was there. He showed up. When he was there, I'm sure some of it is that competitive drive kicks in. You want to stop when you see somebody running and jogging. You decide, I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit. I found myself doing that too, but great inspiration. I should appreciate that. And the last thing I want to say, this is just kind of funny because I hadn't even mentioned the 5K, but we did do the 5K. Some of us, I know we already put that picture up. I'd never done one before. Before I ever started this, I would never even envision myself caring if I did that. But it felt like a great achievement, and I did. All my younger life, I was a competitive athlete, and I enjoyed it, and that spirit has always been there, even when I didn't have the physical capability of competing well. But anyway, we were the first lap around, like Angela said, we had to run this course twice, and the first time around, you had to cross the finish line and then keep going for the second lap to finish the 5K. And there was this lady, I didn't know her, but I could tell she was close in age to me. And we were kind of like neck and neck. We'd go back and forth, and we hit that first time, and they holler out your time the first lap, so you'll keep going. And it was like 27-21 and 27-22. Well, I was ahead of her that second, and I was mad about my second, but they gave her the second. So anyway, we're going around, and I hear her behind me saying, "Oh, I don't want to do this again. I don't want to do it again." And I'm like, "Oh, come on, you can do it. You can do it." So we kept going, but somewhere along the way, I did get ahead of her, and I didn't even. She wasn't behind me when I crossed, so she was far enough back where I didn't see her. But she did finish, and I'm glad to hear that. Well, when they were doing the awards, they presented them in 5-year age groups or increments, and so she and I were in the same bracket. And it's kind of funny because if y'all will see Facebook, you see where Angela and them posted. I don't really know with the numbers of people that were participating in the whole entire race, but they called out second place, and they called out my name, and I'm like, okay, I'm glad I got me a medal now. So I go and get my medal, and then the woman that I'm talking about gets called out for the first place medal. And I'm like, man, she got my second, and she's gonna get the medal. That's what I'm thinking to myself, and it really didn't matter. But when, but
we could tell it didn't matter, Pat.
But it did. Now, I told myself it didn't matter, whatever. So, but the kids, Dustin and Caitlin, they turned around like, I know that woman was behind you. How did she get first place medal? And I'm like, whatever. But it was so sweet because the woman came to me after the race, and she said, I looked at my children and I told them I did not beat that woman. So she came and she gave me my medal. So we swapped medals. So I ended up first place in my age group. So I felt like that was this huge accomplishment, and that it was a lot of fun, and it was great that we had as many members as we had that were able to come. And I'm excited, and if anybody's interested, you can talk to any of us that participated in the pastor and myself, and we'll have more details later about the next session.